Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Investing Bros. Got a lot to talk about in this show, but first of all, everyone who especially is just waking up to the sound of my voice, we're so glad you're here. Make sure grab that coffee, grab your tea, grab your energy drink, grab your water, whatever you use to wake up in the morning. Maybe some of you are taking a shower. I know I've heard that tactic before. Sometimes people just turn on and start listening while they're taking a shower in the morning. Wake yourself up. I'm so glad you guys are here. My name is Tim. I'm joined by T-Shroom as well. How are you doing this morning, T-Shroom?
Better than I deserve, Tim.
Better than you deserve. I love it. Everyone, go ahead and smash that like button. Join in here. We got 12 people in. I know more people are going to be funneling in here in the next couple of minutes and seconds. But those who are here, if you're new, if you just found us, like you're just scrolling through YouTube and you see what's happening here, thank you so much for joining us. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We are here every single morning, 9 to 10 a.m. to update you guys on what is happening in the crypto world, in the investing world, in the stock market, and help you guys kind of navigate it. But ultimately, you guys are just joining us on our venture as we invest, and we're continuing to try to better our lives. And we're quickly, we've been live now for 1 week. In just 1 week, we are, 13 subscribers away from 600. First of all, shout out to every single one of you. You guys are the reasons why we're here and why we're doing as successfully as we are. But help us get to that number. Our goal here, I would say, T-Shroom, I'm going to give us about a month and a half. Our goal would be to get to that 1,000 subscribers, get those 4,000 watch time hours. We'll be able to monetize the channel and continue to grow this amazing community. But it all starts with you guys liking, subscribing, hitting that notification bell, and commenting below. First of all, shout out, that's the other thing. Shout out to everyone who commented yesterday. We just got a bunch of comments down below, which is awesome. I respond to each and every single one of them. So if you guys wouldn't mind doing that again today, that would be so cool. We got a lot of headlines to talk about. First of all, what's really, really big right now is some CZ news. Him going after SBF, calling him potentially one of the greatest fraudsters in the history ever. Not just crypto, not just investing, one of the greatest fraudsters in the world ever. We're going to talk about that and more. Also, some big news happening over in Nigeria. Not really what you want to see. I'm not going to give away too many details. We're going to dive into that in the second half hour of the show, but it's not really what I was hoping to hear from Nigeria. I had more hope that they would be more crypto friendly. We will see what happens there in the second half hour. As far as technical analysis that's going to be happening today, we're going to check in with chat here in a second, but we're going to be doing some Bitcoin. I might even glance at Ethereum, some interesting things happening there. We're going to give Cardano a break today. So if anyone was hoping to see some Cardano TA, I think we're going to spend some time on other projects. 2 fan tokens I've seen over the last couple of days you guys have been asking for, we're going to be addressing. We're going to look at Algo and Kadena today. One of them, I'm loving what the chart's looking like. The other, I'm not as confident. Which one? You might be asking. You got to stick around for the whole show to find out. But T-Shroom, is there anything else other than those 2 headlines I kind of talked about before we jump in and kind of engage with chat? Any other headlines and things we should be expecting throughout the show?
Yes, we're going to talk about the U.S. jobless claims today, Tim.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to be digesting that a little bit. It's more than likely not going to move the markets too much, but it's nice to keep abreast of what the jobless outlook is looking like here in the United States.
Abreast. Is that the right usage of the word? Abreast? Is that a word?
It is, Tim.
It is. You learn new things every day, I don't use that word. I don't think I've ever used that word. I didn't know it was a word until right now. In chat, let me know if you guys knew that was a word, and someone post the actual definition. I have no idea what that word is. Well, let's go ahead and engage with some chat, though. We had a good question earlier in chat. I've seen this. I think he posted in a comment yesterday, and I've seen him put it on Twitter. But High Desert Inc. said, if you had $10,000 to spend today for the 2020 or the hashtag 2023 bull run, would you put it into GRT USD, which is the graph, or Matic USD, which is Polygon? This is interesting. I gave my answer. But T-Shirt, what is your, real quick, I want to hear what yours is. I want the chat to kind of comment what theirs is. But if you had $10,000, graph or Matic?
Definitely Matic.
Yeah. What's your rationale? I agree with you, but I probably don't have the best rationale.
I like the letter M more than G.
That I do appreciate that take right there. No,
I think Matic. Yeah. No, that's the extent of my thoughts on it. No, I think Matic has shown a lot of strength with partnerships, which is what you really want to do in a bear market. Just deploy capital and even if that's social capital to cement partnerships and Polygon has really been able to do that. Matic has been able to do that. They've been able to show that they are the best pipeline to the Ethereum network, and they can do it cheaply and they can do it fast. And hey, I got to admit, whenever I'm transferring crypto, I always try to use the Polygon rails. And when it comes to Graph, I'm gonna be honest with you, I just don't hear a lot about that. I think they might have high staking rewards, on a couple of different platforms, but that's not the most attractive thing to me.
Well, also the other thing is the peak on Graph. I was taking a quick look at the chart this morning because I don't know about it fundamentally. My reason for the Matic is I don't know that much about the Graph.
You were taking a look at a chart?
From time to time I peek. I take some quick little looks here and there, but I don't know that much fundamentally about Graph. But what I can say from the chart, the fact that its peak wasn't even anywhere close to the majority of where crypto peaks were back in November, December area of 2021. Its peak was actually early in the year. So it peaked like in February of 2021. And since then, it's just setting lower highs. That's not a good chart. So again, I don't know the fundamentals of Graph. If those of you out there have been researching and you think it's great, good. I would just ask, if it's such a good fundamental project, why did it not return to all-time highs when every other crypto was later in 2021? To me, that's not really good, and it's sitting very, very low right now. So for me, Matic is the right answer. The other thing about Matic I love is I was curious. I was curious to see what would happen with Matic when Ethereum finally did go to ETH 2.0. But I think there's a long time. I think Matic, with this partnerships it's made, especially more recently, it's got a very bright future. So
can't agree more.
That's my opinion. I think, let's see, people in chat. Tyler Main loves your take, T-Shroom.
Good.
Obviously, M's are better than G's is something that we should take away from this show.
Yeah, and my rationale is mommy is better than the government. The M is better than G.
It's true. We got let's name some names here, and then we'll jump into some technical analysis here in just saying. Cryptex, one of our moderators in chat. Shannon Sharp, another moderator. Welcome, guys. Tyler Main is here. I already said. Brian D, Scotty Beans. Alan Decker is here. Jason Mack, Wild Pines Co., Grand Roofing Incorporated, everyone's favorite florist. Who is this guy? Steve, is that Shrum?
Steve Shrum.
Steve Shrum.
That's cool. Sounds like an author.
Yeah, sounds like a...
No, that's my dad, guys.
Justin Eubanks, Jokers Wild. So shout out to Steve, Daddy Shroom. Jokers Wild, Crypto Mini Buy. I say Justin Eubanks. Servando Estrada, Brokoshi.
Quick story about my dad.
No dinero.
You ready? I'm trying to make this really quick.
Story time.
So we went out after church a couple weeks ago, and we went to this restaurant, and he knows where this is going. And it was like had seafood, and if you ever get seafood, you know that there's market price. Well, we got crab legs and lobster tail. Came with this awesome communal seafood dining experience.
Sounds like a great dinner or lunch.
We get to my dad gets the bill, and it was like probably 4 or 5 times more than what we thought it was going to be. It was for food for 5, so you probably expect it to be tickling the $100, maybe 150. It was like $350.
That'll make you want to go out and kick a dog or something.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's
how I take my anger out in a healthy way.
Oh my god.
Seafood prices.
Oh my gosh.
But the dog understands.
All right. Well, shout out also to Alex Green, and CryptoSec Guy just joined us. Elo Brown as well. He was the first one here. Oh my goodness. He says channeling Smay with those name pronunciation. I was the original butcher of names.
You were.
And then Smay took it from me after months of making fun of me for it. He found out it's not as easy as it sounds. But shout out to everybody. Again, welcome. We got 41 people here. Love it. But we only got 26 likes. And here's one of the cool things about having a small channel. When you only have 587 subscribers and you only have 41 people watching, it's really easy to match the level of views with likes. So let's go ahead and do that. If any of you guys are new, if any of these 40 viewers are new, go ahead and subscribe and hit that notification bell as well. But we're about to jump in and do some technical analysis. So T-Shroom, let's go ahead and go to my chart. Nothing special necessarily on the macro on Bitcoin. This is pretty common. We've kind of been doing this every single day. Continue to keep our eyes out, though, if we were to dip. Again, I don't think that we're going to necessarily. I think that the news we're about to have here next week actually potentially could give us another short-term rally. But keep your eyes on this blue dotted line as support that we've had back here since the summer of 21 with the old Elon news. And we touched again with our big wick we had back in, June of this year. Have not yet come down to test it again, but I'm keeping my eyes there. What's even more kind of interesting is the green level of resistance touched that all-time high, touched once again on that nice little rally that kind of faked out a lot of people back in April this year, thinking maybe the bottom was in. Maybe this wasn't a bear market just yet. We were actually going to rally back up, and there was still hope that we could get to 100,000. Well, we got cut short, and of course, that became another resistance point. It was used once again down here, but the good news is after this, we broke through, and it didn't really break up. We just broke through and went sideways, and now we've used it as support. So can we keep that up, or is this a line we're going to be coming down to touch once again? We're going to keep our eyes on that. Let's go ahead and zoom on in, and let's look at a couple of things. I'm going to start off, and it's not what people want to hear from me. I'm going to start off with some bad chart news. I'm really hoping it doesn't end up doing what I'm saying, but I'm just noticing there's something that I don't really like. And at first, actually, I'm gonna let you down slowly. Let's look at this red line, this red solid line right here. This is a support level growing, and you guys are going to look at that and say, oh, that's pretty cool. Well, the first thing I'll look at in here is that we also had this blue level of support that we're kind of sandwiched between. You're noticing after using that as both support and resistance and support and resistance, and we broke through it, now we're kind of sandwiching ourselves between this red level of support and then that blue line now turned resistance. So the question is, what are we going to do? Which line are we going to break? Are we going to break the blue line and break that resistance, turning back support, or will we fall through the red line? And I have some bad news on the 4-hourly chart of something that I'm looking at. A lot of technical analysts will use this as trend analysis. So we're talking about when do we have a good trend going on, and when is that trend going to be broken? So even though we set a lower low right here, I want you guys to take a look here at the RSI. I'm actually going to make it full screen. I don't usually do this. I don't usually go full screen with the RSI, but today
it's an exclusive.
It's a special day. So you don't just follow trends with price action, you also follow trends with bottoms of RSI or tops of RSI. So for example, you also see a trend kind of going on right there. But this one is really important. It's a support level. So on the price, we actually ended up, we're bouncing off of this red line, finding support, but of course there's a level of resistance right there. On the RSI, we actually broke the trend, and what we're looking at right now, I'm not saying we cannot, but first of all, this yellow line, which is the 11-day moving average of the RSI, we're sitting right below it, and you can't, I don't know if you can really see, we're slowly kind of acting like maybe we want to break it, bounce off of it. But the other thing is potentially we come back up and hit our heads on that red line. Keep your eyes on the RSI. That trend was broken, and just like price action, sometimes when it turns support into resistance, it can end up hitting its head on it and then bouncing down. Same thing with RSIs. That's one of the reasons I'm not feeling very good. The good news is that's a 4-hourly chart, which means next couple of days. We still have, 6 days before we get the good news. It just would not surprise me to actually see us end up having some bearish price action that brings us down and breaks through the support level, and maybe even gets as severe as coming down towards yellow green lines. It's all part of what we're doing right now. Remember, literally a week and some change ago, we're down here at these levels. So it's not really that bad if we come down and touch other support levels. My thoughts, though, was we actually end up breaking down somewhere in this region, have some news, we get our 50 basis points, potentially even get some dovish remarks from Jerome Powell, because he realizes, man, we got to tackle inflation, but the economy is getting out of control, and then we end up bouncing back to the upside, maybe coming back in. And I got to zoom out for this one because my chart is scrunched. But this zone that I talked about last week, this zone talked to me about the breakout of the inverse head and shoulders pattern. Also, this is the level of not only former support turned resistance, but is almost perfect with the 0.786 level. And really quickly, before I jump into these other charts for some technical analysis, I want to just, in case anybody did not see that chart and does not know what's happening, what I'm talking about with the Fibonacci levels, I want to show you guys what that is. So I got to go out to let's go out to the 3 daily chart to see this, pull down my RSI. And first of all, we got 75 people watching. Holy cow. I think other than day one, this is our highest one. So thank you to everybody. Smash that like button.
And if you do me a favor really quick, put a 1 in chat if you came here from stock tweets. Back to you, Tim.
Did you do something with stock tweets?
We can talk about that. Yes, I did.
Nice. I love it.
I love
when you keep secrets from me. Anyway, so let's zoom out. Let's look at some other bull and bear markets we've had on Bitcoin. It's going to take me a second just to scroll this out because we're on the linear chart, but I have a reason why I'm on the linear chart. it gets diluted if you're looking at the log Fibonacci or the log chart. What I want to point out is a similarity that we've seen in the last two bear markets, and it looks like we potentially are repeating. And that is looking at this Fibonacci tool. The bear market came down, broke below 0.786 level. I think this one's down about 40% below it. It hovers somewhere around 37 mostly. It kind of jumps back up. But we use this line as resistance. I think I got to zoom in just a little more so people can see. We use this line as resistance. Yes, we have a couple of wicks and things that broke through, but this line actually ended up staying resistance throughout the bottom. We didn't set a new bottom. We just continued to trade sideways underneath it. Same thing happened in the more recent bear market back in 2018. So I got to scroll out here. Boom. We break below the 0.786 level, come back up, use it as resistance right there. Technically, we don't even get all the way back up to the line, but we hover below it before finally breaking through. And then the last one, this is why I'm looking at this right now. If you were to go back to the low we had back during the pandemic, I'm still not sure if we're allowed to say the C word. I'm playing it safe. I'm not going to say it.
Don't say it, Tim.
Especially since it's come back up relevantly in China. But look at where that 0.786 level, it hits perfectly with former support on Bitcoin's fall, and now we're turning it into resistance. I'm looking to see, do we do something similar we've seen in previous bear markets? When you put the log chart on, the reason I'm using linear, when you put the log chart on, it just throws everything off. Like this bear market broke below 0.286, but didn't even get down to 0.382. This bear market bounced off of 0.382, which is great, but this one we're already sitting currently around the 0.5. There's no consistency there to say, well, we have to go to this level. And that zone that I was talking about, when you're looking at the linear chart, there's still a chance we set a new bottom. This doesn't mean, oh, is Tim saying the bottom's in? No. Like I said, these other ones, they go about between 30 to 40% down from that line. So let's just draw that. Doesn't have to. That could be a breaking point, but let's just draw and let's look at what 30% down from that line would be. 30% down would be right there on 12,000. 40% would be down here on 10,000. Those are levels people have absolutely called for. Doesn't mean we have to go down that far. I'm just wanting you guys to realize, like, literally that's something to keep your eyes on there, is that we could go that far down and still be sticking with a commonality in bear markets that we drop below 0.786 level, we end up using it as resistance, and then we, after a couple of months of trading sideways, we end up breaking to the upside and going back to a bull market. So keep your eyes on that. If you guys had never seen that before, go ahead and let me know in chat. But let's go ahead and move on to something that's a little more interesting. I'm going to pull it actually from over here because I have it on my bigger screen, but I want you guys to see it. There we go. We're going to start off here with Algo. And I told you guys, we're going to be doing Algo and Kadena today. I don't need this Fibonacci necessarily right now. One of these charts I like, and one of them I don't like. And you know what? Let me actually go ahead, and we got some time here. I'm going to play this a little bit. This is Kadena right here. We're sitting out here on the daily chart, and this is Algo. And I don't have necessarily too much drawn and too much done, but I want you guys just to take a quick look at this. Which chart? I want to see what chat says. Which chart do you think I like, and which one do you think I do not like? Let me know right now in the chat. But we're going to start off here with Algo, and I'm going to give you the spoiler here in just a second. First of all, the peak right here back in November, this corresponds. Yes, it's not necessarily as high as this, and I know Algorand's older than this, but this is just the oldest chart I could find. TradingView doesn't always get the whole history of coins. They take it once an exchange picks it up. So I'm sitting here on Binance. So if you guys have if you guys do technical analysis on a different chart that gives you more history, I would love to hear about it, but I'm using Binance for this. Yes, there's a wick up here that kind of starts it all off, but I'm going to go ahead and say we have a nice peak right here back in November of 21, same as we have with Bitcoin and Ethereum and all these other projects. That's a pretty traditional peak. Since that time, we are down, especially like right now, we are sitting at the lowest we have sat this entire bear market. But here we go. Spoiler. I like what I'm seeing on the Algo chart. Why is that? Could we go lower? Absolutely we could. But look at where our current levels are right now. We have two different opportunities back here. One right here where we're currently sitting, November of 2020. We also had this wick that came down in January of 21, right in this area of strong support. It doesn't mean we can't go down further, but anytime you revisit previous strong levels of support, that is significant. Also, when you factor in, when you're looking at some other things here on the charts, we're out on the daily chart, the RSI is kind of sitting in a place where it's like, all right, we're not overextended necessarily yet, but guess what we see here on the 3 daily chart? I forgot I was sitting on the 3 daily chart. The 3 daily chart gives us bullish RSI divergence, where we see, and I didn't go ahead and draw this, but the price action is coming down, the RSI is going up. This does not mean it has to be an immediate impact. We also, this technically hasn't closed yet, so let's see if there's there's a significant drop in price action over the next couple of weeks, then this could cancel out. But as it stands right now, sitting at that current support level, sitting in a place where we have some bullish RSI divergence, the oscillator, the Luxago oscillator, is overextended to the downside. We're starting to get that green cloud in here. Let's go to the daily chart and see if it changes things up at all. Kind of the same dynamics are going with the daily chart RSI, but it's not. I'm going to say this isn't necessarily as bullish RSI divergence on the daily chart as the 3 daily, but I love seeing those things happen on the larger charts. On the daily, we are approaching down towards the 30, and you can see from the history of this coin, we really don't. I mean, back here we got below, but we really have not been going below the 30 on the RSI. So whereas other coins, you're looking at going below 30 on the daily chart, and you're like, all right, that's a great time to buy. Technically speaking, what I'm seeing on Algo in its history, it's not very common for it to go below 30. So the fact that we're sitting right now around 33, I would qualify that as being overextended. Of course, now looking at this oscillator here, the Luxago oscillator, we are overextended, got a nice green cloud right there. So there's a lot of different things in confluence saying, A, we're overextended to the downside, and B, we're sitting at former serious support at 2 different levels. For those reasons, I want you guys to come up with this for yourself. Those reasons alone on the chart, I'm loving what I'm seeing on the chart. I think that Algo does right now look like a good buy, especially when you look at some of the partnerships it has. First of all, it's a layer 1 solutions, got partners with FIFA. Oh, something gets replayed on me. There we go. We're sitting, they have a relationship with FIFA, which is not going anywhere. FIFA is not a company that's about to die. So the fact that that large of an organization chose Algorand means they see something special there. There's also some announcements coming up. I can't remember the name of what the conference is called, but there's a conference coming up that there's some big announcements coming from Algorand's team. They're still continuing to develop. They still have a lot of plans for the future. Yes, the price action is down, but again, just because price goes down does not mean the fundamentals of a project suck. So for me, I look at Algorand and my personal opinion is great fundamentals, great future. And then I look at the charts and I say, all right, we got some bullish divergence. We're sitting at key levels of support. To me, this looks like a great coin, great opportunity. And so for those reasons, I'm loving what I'm seeing on Algorand. So boom, I'm gonna take a little break, get a little sip of water. Went on a little spirit there. We got some time because I'm about to switch over.
That was good. Also, to add to this, Algorand, some pronounce it Algorand, have...
is that, which is the right one? I don't know.
I have no idea. But I think so anyway, they are also one of the ISO 222 coins. So what does that mean? So that ISO 222 is a compliance for the Swift messaging language. Okay, what does that mean? Well, there's a bunch of big banks around the world and they send messages to each other. Hey, your client is entitled to this amount of money. We're about to send it to you. Okay, send it to us. And all of that messaging has to be in compliance with international code, of like, you know, the way that they think that communication should happen between banks. Swift is the platform that facilitates that communication. And Swift is coming out in November. They came out with a beta that banks can already and are already using. But in March, they're going to be launching it's not a beta anymore. Everyone's going to have to use it. And it's going to be blockchain based, just the messaging part. And they may expand the payments as well. So when I send a message from the Bank of Singapore to the Bank of England, that more than likely will be on blockchain rails. Algorand is one of the crypto blockchains that has set itself up to be compliant in meaning it would be compatible with that Swift system. And so that's something to stay tuned on. I would say that Quant and XRP, if they win the SEC case, they are much more likely positioned to benefit the most from this phenomenon, but Algorand is up there.
Boom. Good. Thank you for that analysis. Let's go ahead and jump in. We got a couple more minutes here before we're going to do our market update as the market opens. So by default, I said one of these coins I liked, what their chart was showing, and one of them I didn't. If I liked what Algo was, that means I don't like what Kadena is showing here. So KDA USD, I'll be honest. I'm going to start off by saying I know more about the fundamentals of Algo than I do about KDA, about Kadena. So I cannot speak too much on what the fundamentals are and what's happening in the news. But what I can say right now is, as far as charts are concerned, I'm not loving it. So there's two different lines I have here before I even pull up oscillators or anything else. Going back to a little peak that we had back here in May of this year, we have used this now 3 times. Got close to it, didn't quite touch it, but that's kind of close enough, good enough for government work, as they say, for a 4th touch on this red level of resistance. So not only do we get rejected at that level, but when you zoom in here, go to the smaller time frames. Remember, I told you that Bitcoin had a trend line that it technically was still using as support. Well, Kadena doesn't. It trend line that it's been serving here for the last couple of, this has been about a week and a half, 2 weeks. No, that's 2 weeks. Yeah, the 22nd of November. That'd be over 2 weeks. It broke it. So watch potentially as we have a small little rally here happen in the next couple, maybe next couple of hours, maybe next day or two. But it's now turned this level of support into resistance. And for those reasons, I just do not like it. The other thing, when you're starting to look at some of these things, look at, despite the fact that we're continuing to set lower highs, how quickly and crazily we got high on the oscillators on the RSI. And yes, technically we dropped back down, which is setting up good, kind of supports what I just said, that we could see a short little rally over the next couple of days. Technically speaking, the oscillators are overextended. I don't like how quickly that happened, especially when you come out here and you're looking at larger time frame things. We have bearish RSI divergence very clearly. I don't even draw the price action right there, but I'll just go ahead and draw it on the RSI. We have these peaks that went a little higher. Yes, it's not necessarily crazy higher, but it is higher. And then we have the peaks of the prices going down. This is bearish RSI divergence. And so what I'm looking at right now is maybe potentially short term, meaning the next couple of hours or next day or two, maybe slight bullish action, but it's only to retest resistance. Longer time frames are actually looking bearish. And again, this is another chart. It doesn't have too long of a history. I know Kadena is older than what this chart is showing, but I don't know where the price is. I'm sure that there's some bottoms over here, but we're sitting in a spot where more than likely we're going to be seeing a new bottom on Kadena. The fact that we're this low already in the price action, and the fact that we're only seeing some bearish things on longer time frames, would not be surprised to see Kadena end up dropping below this bottom we set here a couple of weeks ago at 77 cents, maybe going a little lower. Something you could look at. I mean, I'm not going to do a major one. Let's just look at a short-term one. Let's look at potentially where on Fibonacci extension we could see some levels develop. And I know I'm really small. I got to zoom in here. Let me take my oscillators down and fix these points so they look good. But a lot of times we're looking at bouncing spots where, we have Fibonacci right here kind of telling us right there on the 0.5 we had some bounce. But if we're looking at projections, some places to keep your eyes on in these levels, if we end up dropping and setting new lows, watch for 71 cents. Watch for this golden pocket around 67 cents. These are areas I'm not necessarily for right now going to go too much lower than that, but those are the areas I'm going to keep my eyes on. Not only matching and double bottoming around 78, but I'm also going lower. 72 and 67 look like places potentially, if you like Kadena, if you did like this, if you do like the fundamentals, I would consider saying, hey, I'm going to wait on it though. Wait for this little short rally to happen and wait for a dip to come in and maybe find some good buy spots down there. As the news develops and as charts continue to change, you can update your opinion on that. But that is what I'm seeing on Kadena. Again, I'm not a fan. I don't know the fundamentals of it. So I could be 100% wrong, but from just a charts perspective, I'm not really liking what I'm seeing on Kadena versus what I saw on Algo. So you can go off my screen now, T-Shirt. Do you have any thoughts or any coins that you've been looking at recently in crypto before we transition into stocks? Anything you've been looking at that you're excited about in the crypto world?
I mean, I've been doing a deep dive on the ISO 222 coins, but Kadena has definitely not been on my radar. It's ranked 120 on CoinMarketCap, and that means it's not even in the top 100. And so it's not really on my radar. They would need to show a lot fundamentally that they're innovating and that they've come up with something really interesting. And I'm just not seeing that from Kadena. And I apologize, a couple seconds ago, I was late to get to Tim's screen.
Was there anything you think they missed that I should show?
Definitely.
Okay, so
but I don't know. I think they got the tail end though. So
well, go back real quick. I'll just show them the macro. If they missed the macro, if you missed the place where I was talking about the resistance level, these are the points here. So 4 touches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then on the more zoomed in 4-hour chart, I'm gonna be really quick with this. 4-hour chart, we broke this trend line. So we had this when we set the bottom back here 2 weeks ago. We just broke it. So what I'm talking about is a pump potentially back up to retest that resistance. And I think you guys saw the Fibonacci levels, so I don't need to go back into that. But yeah, so not really liking what I'm seeing on the chart. It's more bearish, especially more like when I say long term, I'm going to say intermediate term. When I'm talking about the next couple of weeks and months, I don't like it. Long term, there's more upside than there's downside because it's just so bad unless the product dies as whole. But short term, there's some bullish action, meaning next couple hours and days. But weeks, no, I don't like what I'm seeing there. Again, if I wanted to get into it, I would be looking more at the matching the bottom again, 79 cents, or even going lower towards what did I say, 71 and 67, I think, something like that.
Yeah. I was looking at this chat on CoinMarketCap's chat. Now, anybody can say anything on here, but this person said Kadena is the most profitable coin to mine thanks to Antminer, and when most miners move their hash rate up, go up, and check yourself when it happened to Bitcoin and go global miner. So there might be some. I believe Kadena is proof of work still, which is kind of rare in the crypto world now. Most everything moved to proof of stake, which, you know, if you're a gamer, that made your GPUs a lot cheaper, which is great. But yeah, that's kind of the only thing I really know about Kadena.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I could be wrong. It could be about to have a massive rally because there's something new coming out here in the next couple hours, but if I'm just looking at charts, if that's all I can use for it, which is what I'm given right now, that I'm not liking it. So
yeah,
well, let's go ahead and jump. It's 9:30. Let's go ahead and jump into our market update and look at the stock market to see what is popping over there.
Absolutely. Well, so far, guys, really the biggest thing is the initial jobless claims, and they've come out and they met the forecast. So they were supposed to be 230,000, and they came out as that. And so one thing I pulled up as a result of this, some reaction, is actual unadjusted initial claims rose in every single state in the past week except Tennessee. So you can see around the country of the United States, you know, there's a lot of jobless claims, and that's going up except Tennessee. So interesting statistics there. I don't think that this is going to move markets in a big way, and we're about to go check the markets here right now. So let's
that's hard. It's hard to see. That's states, right? California, New York, Texas.
Yeah, you can't really see. I mean,
it's hard to see.
Okay, yeah, sorry. So the top of the list is California, New York, Texas, Georgia, Illinois, Pennsylvania.
You're on me for just in case.
And the bottom, yeah, I'm getting better at this, guys. The bottom,
it's a hard job. Listen, being a co-host and having to run the tech, it's fun. Smay had quite the job.
Yeah. So anyway, you know, let's go ahead and take a look at the just the markets and how they're kind of opening here, and let's go to my screen for that. So we got we've got the SPY opening up I'd say decidedly higher here. The Nasdaq is also doing the same, and so is the Dow. So all of the indexes are kind of up 0.3 and change, which is really, really good to see. And we'll actually go ahead and just check out one of these charts. Let's look at the SPY on the 1 hour. Not too bad of a time frame to take a look at this. So basically what we're seeing here, let me exit out of these guys here, is that the SPY is retracing those gains from the morning a little bit here in the early hours, in the early minutes of trading, you could even say. So, you know, it's staying within its channel of kind of what you would expect, but it's not, you know, surging back up. So it's not coming out and saying, let's go to a little bit of a wider time frame here. On the hourly chart, we kind of got an idea of the price movement. It's not a ton of movement, but it is, you know, as we can see over here in the ticker chart, it is moving up. So, but it's not surging up. It's not trying to retest this line of resistance up here quite yet. It's more than likely, again, as I talked about yesterday, the path of least resistance for the indexes is just down, right? It's going to come back and trace down, and you can know that if you're long the indexes, more than likely. If it's in a 401k or something, you're fine. Just wait it out. But if you're trading this market, I might think about fading this on down to probably, then this is the SPY. This isn't SPX. So it's going to have it's going to have a different price. SPX is in the thousands. This is in the hundreds, but I believe the numeric value is the same. But the SPY could come down, probably make new lows here at 330, something around there. But we do get the CPI on the 13th, and then we get the Fed rate decision on the 14th, which those could, in theory, that could switch the game, and it could come down here, find support on, and this is the 4 hour, on like on the moving average there, and then go ahead and penetrate through. And we know that that's possible because if you take a look at the Dow, now it has a different mix of stocks in it, which is why it's been more bullish. Folks tend to migrate. The money tends to migrate to value stocks like Disney, Walmart, stocks like that, Home Depot, Coca-Cola, versus growth stocks like Robinhood or stocks like that. I've got a list of them here. Robinhood, Snowflake, Jenny, DraftKings. And that makes sense, right? Money wants to go where it's going to be safe primarily, and then it wants to go where it can grow. Well, if it's not a good environment for growth, then it's going to go to safety. The Dow Jones has more safety than the S&P and the NASDAQ. So that's why it's been rewarded with being able to break through this line of resistance. And it has some time to travel back down here and test that again, and then potentially jump higher. Obviously, I don't know what it's going to do, but if the Fed does decide to do 50 basis points, which it's looking like it will, then we could see the Dow make that turn that flip. I don't think it's officially flipped that into support quite yet, because you'd want it to come back down and tap it and then go higher. It's kind of just gone up and not come back down. And that's more than likely a result of just so much money flooding out of growth, flooding out of the big tech names, which there's kind of a debate going on right now, whether or not the big FANG names are even growth anymore, or if they're starting to be value. So that's kind of the market open. Let's take a look at down here at the different sectors. So this is big energy producers. This is Occidental Petroleum, a major stake from Berkshire Hathaway. Warren Buffett has a big stake in this company. ExxonMobil and Marathon Gas, and then this is Schellenberger, I believe it's what it's called, and they're all up decidedly up higher, and that's because they took a pretty big haircut yesterday, with oil prices coming down so much, so they're recovering from that. Let's even take a look at ExxonMobil. Yeah, you can see they took a big haircut. This is a 4-hourly come down here, penetrate through the 200-day moving average and then resume upward. Honestly, if you're looking to date, if you're a swing trader, I think energy right now is probably not a bad place to kind of swing. By energy, I mean the oil producers. The price of oil is a lot more uncertain. I'm not really sure what's going to happen to it, but I think as I listen to CNBC, there's still a lot of commentary thinking that there's a lot of strength moving forward into the new year that could be in energy producers. Speaking of energy, let's go take a look at natural gas and oil price proper. So natural gas coming up higher today, and man, it's not a volatile day in natural gas. Usually you see natural gas up 4 or down 5 or something like that. Well, today it's just chilling at up 0.6%. And today was the day that I was very curious about potentially selling my shorts and my long and then doubling down on my longs, because I went short on natural gas up here. And now it is, I've made about 44%, but this isn't going to be, so this is pretty good, because this is UNG, this is the normal, this is kind of close to the spot movement percentage-wise of natural gas, and I went short through this ETF called Cold, which does 3x of that. So it's about right. So I'm up about 44% right now on those shorts, and I'm down about the same amount on my longs that I took. So now the question is when do I sell my shorts down here for profit and go ahead and dump all of that profit or half of it into the longs? Well, then it becomes a question of zoom out, because we need to figure out what's going to happen to natural gas here on the long term. It's like I don't want to go long with a lot of money on something that could go even lower. And natural gas is one that is absolutely known to go lower and get crazy. If you look at UNG on a very long time scale, this has a lot to do with the technology evolution in LNG production, but you can see it's only gone down. The narrative of LNG prices going back to 2011 has just gone down. Now, why is that? Well, that's because producers internationally have figured out how to make it profitably, and then that just brings the price down, and that's a simple economics narrative. But you want to be careful here if you've been trading along with me on this, because we don't know what's going to happen. So the key to playing these long and short games, you're making your own yield farm in a way, is you have to be patient. You can't just trade all the time with this. You have to be patient. And when you're on a big move like this, where it's swinging 33% in one movement, you have to be very patient. So speaking of patience, if you guys don't care about natural gas, you've been very patient while I've been on this diatribe. So we'll keep going. Oil up 1.7%. Now I believe that's a result of a big correction and a resumption higher, testing higher after. Yeah, so oil prices have really collapsed coming from 82 down to 73, as you can see on this chart. That is a 11% change in not too long of a period, only 3 days. So that's quite a bit. That's I mean, it's not like we haven't seen that. We've seen that kind of price movement, but the story of oil has been, COVID just made it surge through the summer months of 2020, I believe it was. 2022 is when it tickled the tops, the all-time highs of oil, and now it's kind of come back down to this point of control that I have handily created here from the VPVR. So you can kind of see there's probably a good chance that it's going to bounce here and find some stability, maybe test lower down into the mid 60s, but more than likely this is going to be a good buying range in here for oil if you're someone who likes to play around in energy. This kind of box right here. So I have it drawn. If you can get in the mid 60s to where we are now, it's probably not a too bad of an entry point. Unless you think oil is going to go lower, which the thing is with oil right now is just, it's kind of anybody's guess, right? And that's why there's so much volatility. That's why there's so much opportunity. So if you have any kind of edge, or if you have any kind of, like conviction on the market, this is a good time to play those cards. Alex Green asks, T-Shroom, do you know anything about NG1 exclamation mark? Thanks. The one I have on my list, not sure why. So, NG1 exclamation mark, that looks like an options contract, so a futures contract, so that tracks. Let's just check it out. NG1 exclamation mark. Let's see. Yeah, so there it is. So this is just so the value here is 5. So this is the spot price. So it's not this is the contract value. So it's another way to track kind of the spot price of natural gas in the US. The price is different in the EU, obviously, because they have different demand and supply constraints over there. And, so that's what that ticker is. It's just a futures contract. Whereas this, UNG, it's going to have the same price movement percentage-wise, but it's an ETF. So it's easier to trade. Honestly, it's probably not impossible, but it's a totally different brokerage system to trade futures. You have to get a different brokerage system. Cannot do it on a brokerage like Robinhood, which if you don't have Robinhood and you want to trade equities, there's a link in the description. I get a free stock, you get a free stock, and maybe I'll send some of that over to Tim, depending on how much comes in.
I would love it. Yeah, that would be great.
Real quick, I want to go back to crude oil, and I want you to give my I'm looking right here. Now, of course, we have different charts going on with support levels, resistance levels. Something I want to keep an eye on, and I think when you say mid 60s, I think that's a good spot. We got a wick down here to mid 60s, but similar to what we were talking about earlier with some cryptos, looking at some hard turning points. We actually have a bottom right here on 62. That looked to me, so maybe that's what you were including right there. 62, maybe even as low as 57, but 62 looks like a good spot to me. The thing I'm keeping an eye on right now when I'm looking at this chart, because this is one of the ones I have saved, is this zone right here, the peak that we had back in July, being that we also use as support right here. This is a level of resistance turned into support, turned back into resistance, not really strongly, turned back into support. And right now, when you zoom in here on the daily chart, and of course, if you were to go to the 4-hourly chart, you're going to see a lot more candles. We just came back up and wicked and touched that and came back down. And of course, we also have this zone. So that's a flat level. We have a zone that's kind of ascending that was support that we're now down below. And it's really interesting. Actually, the reason why I kind of have these trend lines drawn, I don't want to say that like, oh, Tim saw this and Tim's brilliant. This is actually trend lines that I saw Caleb Franzen had drawn. So those of you who love Caleb Franzen and follow him over on Twitter, he's one of the people, as soon as we figure out guests, I would love to have Caleb Franzen come back on here. But he was talking about this, and he was watching these levels. I don't know if he had the flat one necessarily. Maybe he did. I can't remember. He definitely had this rising one. And the other day, we were sitting up here. We had not broken yet. He was talking about, watch to see potentially if we break through and end up turning this former support into resistance. That could be huge. And I don't think he gave an exact number, but he definitely talked about it going down. We also seen some articles. You can go off the screen now for my chart. Also seen some articles recently that there's a lot of people actually speculating that oil will be dropping over the next year due to recession, that just happens. When recession hits and the demand lowers, of course the price is going to drop. What also is going to happen is things like potentially, because the price of oil gets so low, Russia will no longer be able to fund their war with Ukraine, and maybe they will lead to a ceasefire. Well, guess what? Another pressure that's causing oil prices to be high is the concern going on over there in Ukraine, between Russia and Ukraine. So that would go even lower. I saw one person predicting as low as $40 a barrel potentially by the end of next year. I'm not saying that's definitely going to happen, but I am much more in a camp of, and I'm not doing this right now, so don't say like, oh, Tim said he's doing this. I want to examine some more evidence before I do, but I would be more comfortable shorting oil at this point than I would be longing.
Yeah, and I think the play here is just to trade the volatility, because it's really anybody's game. Unless you're like a C-suite exec at ExxonMobil, you don't really know what's going to happen to the price of oil here going forward. Unless you're like a member of OPEC, right? There's no way you can really know. Somebody down this low on the ground, you just can't really know. And so, but what you can do is trade the volatility, because it's going to be volatile when nobody knows where the price is going to go. So you also have another huge force. Tim eloquently mentioned many of them. Another big one is the reopening of China. Mm-hmm. If all those people are allowed to get out of their houses and get back in their cars and go drive around, you better rest assured the price of oil is going to go up. Tim, we need to get into the crypto stories here.
Yeah.
Especially our cover story, but we'll start with Nigeria announces new cash withdrawal restrictions, ATMs limit to less than 44 per day.
Yeah.
Pretty wild stuff. So let's read on forward through here. The Central Bank of Nigeria, you don't hear a lot about, but we're going to today, the CBN, recently announced that revised cash withdrawal limits that will become effective on January 9th of 2023. So not yet, but coming pretty quick. The announcement comes just days before the country's newly designed Naira banknotes start circulating. This is a CBDC. And we've talked about this a lot, and there's a lot of information out there that you can learn about CBDCs. But here's some of the restriction. After announcing the plan to replace old notes with
I think the way it's showing on the screen is a little, you can't see everything. So you might want to zoom out just a little bit.
You're right. Yep. Yeah, good call. Good call. After announcing the plan to replace old notes with newly designed Naira banknotes, the CBN has urged Nigerians to embrace cashless payment methods. Cashless here being the big scary word, as they take away this technology that is tried and true, at least from central banks. Mm-hmm. The CBN letter in the meantime ends by warning of severe sanctions to persons aiding and abetting the circumvention of this policy. So they really, really want you to play ball there in Nigeria. And this is really unfortunate for me, because I like to track the African economies, and Nigeria has far and away been kind of the shining city on a hill, country on a hill. And now it's looking like their government has made the decision to implement these encroaching CBDCs, encroaching on their freedoms at least.
Yeah, and what's really crazy is Nigeria is also one of the countries for two different things. One, they were one of the first African countries really embracing the concept of Bitcoin. So maybe it was just a cryptocurrency, but it looked like potentially that was going to be something that they were going to be one of the leading African countries to adopt Bitcoin as a currency. And maybe they still will. I don't know. This doesn't mean they won't. But the other one is they were one of the countries also heavily utilizing Cardano and the concept of banking the unbanked and giving, helping people who didn't have power and didn't have access to all this stuff. They were one of the countries. I know they weren't one of the more like corrupt ones that were really restricting people, but they loved the concept of Cardano and really using that. So to see them go from a place of being so favorable to decentralized money and really trying to help their people to enact something like this, like, could you imagine in the United States if this bill were to happen, which by the way, I'm really hoping, but I don't think this would ever happen. Would you imagine only being able to ever withdraw $44 of cash, being forced to go use CBDCs? And I understand Americans mostly use credit cards and debit cards and everything, but could you imagine what would happen if that became a law in the United States? That would be absolutely ludicrous. Absolutely crazy.
Well, I believe that we have done that in the U.S. In our history, they've definitely frozen the bank withdrawals to prevent runs on banks.
But not run. Okay, but this isn't to prevent runs on banks. They say in the article the reason is to incentivize using the CBDCs. What I'm saying is you're right. There's been limits, and then there's economic reasons for limits. And so if the United States had a bill like that, I still think it would be stupid, but that's maybe a little understandable. If the U.S. rolls out a CBDC, but then starts making restrictions on how much cash you can pull out, I mean, I don't know what's happening right now on the streets of Nigeria, but I guarantee you there's be things happening in the streets here in the United States.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we might have to do a video on that soon to kind of cover CBDCs more in depth. But if you go to my screen, T-Shroom, you can see that Nigeria is the number one as of 2022 estimates as of Wikipedia list of African countries by GDP, nominally, not per capita, just GDP straight up, because they are not the top per capita, but Nigeria is number one. So pretty impressive stuff there. Hate to see them implementing an overreaching CBDC there. But getting into the stuff that everybody came for, the salacious SBF stories.
The vocabulary T-Shroom is pulling out today is superb.
I had to switch over to your screen for that compliment. I wanted everybody to get the full experience of that compliment.
I want to pause. I know we're going to get the story. T-Shroom, I think you're doing a phenomenal job as technical director and as a walking encyclopedia and well, that's not an encyclopedia, a walking dictionary.
Wow.
And that just shows you my lack of words that I said encyclopedia first. So you're freaking killing it today, man.
Oh my gosh. In the chat, Scotty Beans says he thinks he knows a Nigerian prince.
Oh my goodness.
That's awesome. Scotty, you got to hit us up. We got to link up with that prince and figure out some cool stuff to do. Maybe just send him some money and see if he can invest it. All right. Okay. So going back into the stories here, federal prosecutors launched investigation into Sam Bankman-Fried. Maybe you've heard of him. Scammy Sam, over market manipulation. Now, this story is not what you think. It kind of came out of left field to us today, and we were not expecting it. I'll make sure that this is all good in the hood for everybody to be able to read. And I will do that, and now it's all good in the hood. So federal prosecutors are reportedly investigating to see if FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried was involved in the collapse of Terra USD and Luna. According to a recent report by New York Times, these prosecutors believe that SBF could have manipulated the price of the foremost mentioned assets. He would have done this in order to bring profits to the entities he owned. Won't get into this too much, but this is going to be a huge developing story. Justin, federal prosecutors are investigating SBF and Alameda Research for market manipulation that led to the collapse of Luna and UST. I don't believe anybody was suspecting FTX of who was behind that collapse. I remember at the time, Goldman Sachs was kind of like the big banks were kind of the suspect of like maybe they pulled the strings to collapse Luna. Do you remember that at all, Tim?
I remember there was accusations about it, but things get accused all the time. I'm looking at, first of all, the fact that people like Ben, like BitBoy, he was talking about this for a while, and the fact that now they're even investigating it, and everything else we've seen going on with SBF. I don't think it's just SBF. I do think there are players involved, and I don't know if that was Goldman Sachs. I don't know if that was BlackRock. I don't know who, Gary Gensler. But SBF is definitely in the middle of this whole thing, and the fact that they're investigating him after all the rumors. I'm gonna be surprised. Well, I say that. I say I'm gonna be surprised if they don't find something, but we've seen a lot of other cover up things going on with SBF, so we'll see.
Yeah. Well, definitely. So moving right along, this is the biggest. This is our cover story here. This is our thumbnail. So this is CZ's posted a list of wrong narratives he has seen recently, and an article describes kind of this Twitter thread that is making waves in the crypto space, and we're going to take a deep dive into it. So Binance CEO calls Sam Bankman-Fried one of the greatest fraudsters in history. Look at him right there. Could be the biggest fraudster ever. And we're going to learn a little bit more about kind of what he was saying there. I hope my highlights didn't go away. No, there they are. Okay. So Zhao, CZ, didn't stop there as he addressed the FTX collapse in another tweet. He stated, FTX killed themselves and their users because they stole billions of dollars of user funds, period. Adding that he never believes Bankman-Fried had any good intentions with his platforms. He wrote, lying is never good. Lying is never with good intentions. So CZ really kind of erecting himself here as the hero, and you'll remember, it was a little bit kind of touch and go at first when this back in November 4th, and we've got the timeline here. As you'll recall, CZ was kind of seen initially as he could be potentially the bad guy, and SBF has just kind of fed into that over the weeks and kind of in the aftermath of the initial collapse. And so with this Twitter thread, CZ's coming back and saying, hey, no, actually, you're the biggest fraudster in history. All I did was a couple of things, and let's look into that really quick because it's important. This is just kind of a brief timeline. So, as you recall, on Friday, the 4th of November, following the CoinDesk report, a pseudonymous creator, crypto researcher Dirty Bubble Media, published further claims about the Alameda on Substack, the newsletter platform. Its newsletter asked if the company was insolvent, referring to the holdings of a chunk of asset of FTT. It added, "It's almost as if SBF found a way to hack the financial system, printing billions of dollars out of thin air, against which he was able to borrow massive sums from unknown counterparties." And this sent, on Sunday, the 6th of November, Zhao set off alarm bells among investors when he tweeted, "Due to recent revelations that have come to light, Binance would liquidate its holding of FTT tokens. Its position was thought to be around 5% of the total, worth around $580 million before the currency crashed in 2019. Now, how did they get this? In 2019, Binance had invested as a shareholder in FTX. It exited that shareholding last year and received $2.1 billion in Binance's own stablecoin. So they were paid in their own stablecoin and in FTT tokens as part of the deal. So they got all that money from 2019 sell. Now they had a ton of FTT tokens, and when CZ heard that news from Dirty Bubble Media, kind of asking the hard questions there about FTX, CZ decided, you know what, I smell a rat here. We're going to go and at Binance, we're going to go ahead and we're going to sell our FTT tokens. Well, that caused the collapse of FTX because FTX could not handle that level of selling. And Caroline, I believe is her name, Sam Bankman's partner.
Oh, Caroline.
She
the CEO of Alameda.
Yeah, she reached out to CZ and was like, "Hey, just sell that to us over the counter, meaning not on exchange, so that it doesn't affect the prices." And that's where CZ is a little bit sketchier to me, because if he would have just taken that option, FTX would probably still be limping along. It would have been hit, but it wouldn't have crashed, and people wouldn't have lost as much money. But he decided to go ahead and just sell it on exchange, which, you know, you can't blame him. I highly doubt he had any idea that the ramifications would be this intense. So, kind of overall here to wrap up, CZ is kind of becoming a very big hero, and and this isn't the first time, right? And then I had Tim do a little bit of research. I was kind of curious. Do you know how many bear markets Binance and CZ has been through?
Yeah, so this is something I don't know why I hadn't learned this before. Binance wasn't created until 2017. CZ himself had been in the crypto game since 2013, so he has been through 3. But Binance, the company's only been through 2 of them. He had a role. The reason why he's actually pretty good at what he does, he had a role even back in 2005 doing creating some exchanges for the stock market and stock trading. But Binance, as big of a company it is right now, probably the world's largest crypto exchange, it's only been around for 2 bear markets, having its creation back in 2017 during that bull run right there. So, I know you had a place you wanted to go with that, but it surprised me. For some reason, I thought they'd been around longer. I thought because of how large they were, they'd been around for a little bit longer than that, but they hadn't. They're a newer exchange as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so like I said, kind of CZ is emerging as like kind of the guy. I mean, you have folks like Elon Musk, you have the Charles Hoskinsons of the world, and then obviously you have the Vitaliks of the world who are big heroes. But CZ, is kind of up there, and he's kind of being seen now, especially with this last thread of tweets, as standing by the fact that he is for transparency, and he's trying to get the snakes out of the grass of crypto. Kind of like, what BitBoy sentiment, except CZ is kind of in a position to pull the strings a little bit more to make that happen, to the tune of selling billions of dollars of FTT token and crashing an entire exchange that was built on fraud. So, he's effective. He's effective in doing that. BitBoy is effective too. He's just more doing it more of at a mass communication scale. Yeah. But I asked the question, is CZ above reproach? Well, there was one instance of scandal, and this article was from late October 2020, and this is leaked. Tai Chi document reveals Binance elaborate scheme to evade Bitcoin regulators. So, how much you think that that's a bad thing? I don't think that that's super bad. I mean, it kind of depends exactly what they were doing, and I think, though, it kind of proves that there really hasn't been a lot of controversy around Binance and around CZ. Now, I know that Binance isn't the most decentralized exchange out there. It could be more decentralized, and their tokenomics of the Binance coin is not that decentralized. But it's good. It's been seen as pretty good. There haven't been any there's not been any downtime like Solana, right? So it kind of checks that box.
Yeah. And
in terms of price, it stayed pretty pegged to the other big guys, Ethereum, and obviously as Bitcoin. And it's in the top 5, I believe. Going over to my screen, it's so BNB, and this isn't the stable coin. This is BNB proper, is number 4, right, on CoinMarketCap and CoinGecko. It's a legitimate coin. It's a legitimate project. And, they've been coming out too. I've seen a lot of articles where they're just talking about, the transparency. So as we'll wrap up, that's kind of the big story, is that CZ is kind of defending himself here and really emerging as a hero and making sure that people understand with this new Twitter thread, hey, I'm not the bad guy here. SBF is continuing to try to paint me as that, and I'm not.
There's a couple of takeaways as we kind of wrap this show up. I have the first one is the time of having crypto heroes needs to be done. Elon was a hero. Sam was a hero. Michael Saylor has been called a hero. And I'm leaving out a bunch of other names. You know what I'm saying? Kevin O'Leary. We need to just stop. Like, if we love the concept of decentralized currency, why would we want decentralized currency, decentralized exchanges? Why would we want a hero attached to that? That's kind of like, when we talk about it here in the United States, those of us as Americans, maybe you know this history, maybe you don't. When we won the Revolutionary War against England, shout out to all of our friends in the UK. When we won that, they originally tried to make George Washington king. And he rejected, he refused, because he was afraid of repeating the exact same tyranny that was happening, is the reason why America wanted to break away in the first place. That's why we came with the presidential system. There's flaws there. My point there, though, is that we do not want to go from having a centralized authority to a decentralized nature with this king, this hero aspect. We should not be putting these people on pedestals and then acting and then getting our hearts broken when they end up becoming not everything we made them out to be. The second thing I will say that is good, in case, because I don't know we talked about it too much, there were accusations going, potentially, is Binance trying to escape around it? Are they having some solvency issues? There was what do you call it? Audit done. They're solvent. Like, they do have their Bitcoin back. They do have their coins backed. So we're not going to see a repeat. If Binance goes down, it will not be for the same reasons FTX did. If something bad happens at Binance, it will not be a repeat thing. It would be something completely different. So that is reassuring to a lot of crypto holders out there who are wondering, hey, could this happen to us on a different exchange like Binance, like Coinbase? I think Coinbase is saying they passed some audits. I could be wrong on that one, but I think Coinbase has kind of shown that they have their stuff backed as well. So that's encouraging, but same thing. Don't make CZ into this massive villain, because I don't think he's that either, but do not make him a crypto hero. We don't need any more of those.
Yeah, and Michael Norris is making some good points here, kind of speaking out, saying, maybe CZ isn't what everybody thinks he is here. It's easy to make yourself look good when you own the books. Apparently, he's making the claim that Binance owns CoinMarketCap. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case, but that just because you own it doesn't mean that you can manipulate it to be factually untrue. You could. I just don't know. So thank you, Michael Norris. Maybe reach out to Tim or I or both of us on Twitter and kind of maybe send us some links to articles that kind of prove some of this stuff, because we just want to know the truth. We don't want to glorify CZ, or we don't want to demonize him. I think he's a legitimate actor. He hasn't given me too much reason to believe otherwise. So, but if there is something we should know, definitely let us know.
Yeah. Well, hey, guys, we ran a little bit past time, but we'd love you guys. We wanted to wrap up that story. Thank you so much to everyone who joined in here. We definitely gained subscribers. We're sitting now, unless it's updated, we're up at 591, which means we are less than 10 subscribers away from 600 with only 1 week of being an actual channel. If you have not already, make sure you smash that subscribe button. Also, I saw in chat someone mentioned, they said, man, YouTube must have shadow banned, done something. I could not find you today. I had to do all this manual stuff. One of the ways that you can get around found that, if you have also had that problem, make sure you smash that notification bell, because no matter what YouTube does, if you hit that notification bell and we are on that you guys will get any updates we go and put out any piece of content whatsoever. Love each and every single one of you guys. We will be back tomorrow with more news, more TA. With that being said, though, I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.